Mankind has dreamt of harnessing dragons for his own ends. This has taken every form imaginable, from leaping atop the back of a fully grown dragon in the hope of breaking it to saddle, an attempt which almost invariably ends with a broken rider instead, to stealing hatchlings or eggs on the theory that a young creature is easier to tame, to caging dragons and optimistically encouraging them to breed. That last is difficult to do even with less hazardous wild animals. Cheetahs, for example, are notoriously selective about their mating habits and will go very rapidly from disinterest to ardor to mauling their erstwhile paramours. Others refuse the task entirely. Whether it is for reasons of embarrassment or some other cause, the giant pandas of Yelang have never been known to reproduce within the confines of an imperial menagerie. I suppose I should offer fair warning. Because this volume of my memoirs concerns itself with my research in Akhia, it will of necessity say more than a little about the mating habits of dragons and other creatures. Those whose sensibilities are too delicate to endure such frankness might well be advised to have a more stout-hearted friend read them a carefully expurgated version, though I fear that edition might be rather short. Dragons are even less tractable in this regard. The Yelangese in particular have a long history of trying to breed their dragons, but despite some rather grandiose historical claims, there is no reliable evidence of success with anything other than the smallest kinds. Large dragons, the sort that come to mind when one hears the word, simply will not cooperate. And yet, it was the cooperation of large dragons that we needed most in the third decade of this century. The reason, of course, was their bones. Astonishingly light and phenomenally strong, dragon bone is a wondrous substance, when one can get it. The bones decay rapidly after death, once their peculiar chemical composition is no longer protected by flesh and blood. Akhia named Gaetano Rossi had developed a method for preserving them. Tom Wilker and I had stolen that method. It was stolen from us in turn and sold to a company in Vahing. 3 years before I went to Akhia, it became public knowledge that the Yelangese were using dragon bone to build effective Kailigers, airships that could be used for more than mere novelty. "If you had shared what you knew with the Crown when you learned it," Lord Rossmere said to Tom and myself during our first meeting, "we wouldn't be in this situation now." I did not say to him that I had kept the information secret precisely to avoid our current situation. First, because it was only true in part, and second, because Tom was stepping firmly on my foot. He had worked quite hard to get us this opportunity, and did not want to see me squander it by speaking impertinently to a brigadier in the Royal Army. I offered instead a more temperate rendition of my thoughts. I know it may not seem like it, but we do have an edge over the Yelangese. I believe our research into dragon bone synthesis is quite a bit further along than theirs, owing to the good efforts of Frederick Kemble. He had several years to work on the problem while the world knew nothing of it. Lord Rossmere ignored my comment, addressing his next words to Tom. "I shed no tears for the deaths of dragons, if they can be useful to us. I'm also a pragmatist, though. Scirling has already exhausted most of its productive iron mines, and thanks to your companion, we've also lost our foothold in Bayembe. If we kill half the dragons now for raw material, then in a generation we'll be fighting over the few that remain. We need a renewable supply, and that means breeding them." None of this was news to either Tom or myself. Lord Rossmere was not speaking to inform us, though. All that was prelude to his next statement. He said, "Your work must be carried out under conditions of strict security. The formula for bone preservation may be out in the world, but nobody has yet had much luck."